And it can be so challenging to drop into the body. And so it is really minimum effective dose, because even just starting to feel those sensations is going to be a really different experience for people. There's so much happening in the body, and often emotions are overlapping and sensations are overlapping. And that alone is just a whole new experience for people. Today, we're unpacking what alexithymia is, how it ties to trauma in the brain, and most importantly, how can we work with it? This isn't just about emotions, it's about disrupted body-brain communication. And when we understand that, we can start to train those systems back online. Welcome to Trauma Rewired. I'm your co-host, Jennifer Wallace. I'm a neurosomatic psychedelic preparation and integration guide.
And I'm your co-host, Elizabeth Kristoff, founder of brainbase.com, an online community where we use applied neurology and somatics for resilience, behavior change, personal growth. And I'm also the founder of the Neurosomatic Intelligence Coaching Certification, an ICF-accredited course for therapists, coaches, and practitioners.
It's difficult to articulate what I'm feeling because there may be a lot of emotion going on in the body, but I can't say what it is. It's like, I don't know. And then the second key dimension is an affective difficulty. This is when there's actually a reduced emotional experience. And they're like, I don't know that I feel anything. And this is the one where we said like the signals break down. Mm-hmm. So in the literature, there is this distinction between the loss of signaling versus the loss of understanding. But what's important for us is knowing that we can increase brain mass in these areas. We can increase function in these areas through our daily neuro practice. Like as we practice gentle interoception work, as we do reset drills before and after challenging moments, we actually retrain our brain to work through these areas, which may help to improve our feeling and our cognitive awareness and kind of bring this whole system back online.
Yeah, I've really seen that with clients. Like and experienced it myself, but just that client that the answer is like Jen was talking about too, just, I don't know. And just this complete, almost like a freeze, a shutdown, and just like a repetitive loop of I don't know. And then gradually with minimum effective dose over time, they start to find these nuances. And also like you were talking about, sometimes it's color or texture or temperature as these gateways into feeling things. And then they start to have this vocabulary and actually can start to process things really deeply when they have time and space and through the NSI tools to begin to cultivate that skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but one thing that's important, and you both have mentioned this already, that starts with that felt sense of interoception, right? Yeah. It starts with what's happening in the body physically, not what's happening in the body emotionally. And then when we try to just chase and try harder to willpower our way into feeling emotions or articulating emotions, it can often lead to a spiral of failure and shame because we just fall flat again and again, not being able to grasp those sensations that are inside of us. So we want to keep circling it back to interoception.
I think that's really a key point because we know we've witnessed so many people living up in their heads, and it can be so challenging to drop into the body. And so it is really minimum effective dose, because even just starting to feel those sensations is going to be a really different experience for people. And then to not have the language, right? We're really just kind of taught this really small spectrum of emotions, and there's so much happening in the body, and often emotions are overlapping and sensations are overlapping, and that alone is just a whole new experience for people.
I think that's why so many people resist somatics, or they don't like it, or they get bored or frustrated, or they're like, I've tried that and it didn't work, is because there's this barrier here. And then also too, people can really go into I have to understand this. I have to figure out the reason why I feel this way. I have to create the story. And so much of processing is not like, you don't have to understand. You just let it move through, and it doesn't have to mean anything particularly, but that's a hard place for people to get to, starting from this place.
Yeah.
The prevalence of this in the general population, it's actually estimated that 10 to 20% of people have alexithymic traits, but in the trauma, PTSD, addiction, autism, and depression populations, it's far more common. So this is something we see, as we mentioned earlier, really co-occurring with a lot of these other outputs.
Yeah. And it's often invisible because people can function outwardly, right? We all know that. That's been even our own experience. But internally, disconnection is what's prevalent. And that can block therapy progress, recovery from addiction, and even intimacy in relationships. So when the inner body signals are fuzzy, the brain can't map what's happening or what's needed. And that uncertainty quietly ramps up anxiety. So the system reaches for protection in the ways of like distance, dissociation, zoning out, going blank, and even time loss. Or it can look like control, like repressive defenses, pushing down feelings and intellectualizing.
So that's one of the reasons why researchers call alexithymia a transdiagnostic factor. It's like an amplifier for anxiety, depression, substance use, other types of addiction, because it just makes the distance or the control, the need for those things much greater. So if we don't address the alexithymia, we just try to work on anxiety, depression, addiction, people can feel stuck no matter how hard they're working on those things because they don't gain this traction to be able to actually move forward in how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're talking about that co-occurrence, it connects a lot of dots between numbing behaviors, addictive behaviors that I see in the people that we work with and also in myself. Like I was an alcoholic. I drank alcoholically for a long time. I had issues with food. And so much of this, I think, was tied to the issues that were going on with my ability to feel, connect to, and process emotions. So either using those as repressive techniques or to feel some kind of sensation that you're naturally craving to feel.
Yeah, I think using substances like that, regardless of what it is, there's a chemical change that happens in the body. There's an interoceptive change. There's a change to our level of conscious awareness and inhibition. And when you mix all that together, right, you say, put it in a blender, mix it all up, see what happens. If the combination of substances and behaviors allows more feeling, that might be more comfortable in some cases in the short term. And so it totally makes sense why those things fit together like puzzle pieces and often go together, because it changes someone's state, and perhaps that's what allows them to feel less threat.
And it's important as we talk about this to remember, like many of the things that we talk about on here, that this is a spectrum, right? The insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, the amygdala, the somatosensory cortex, these are all areas that are critical for turning our raw body sensations into conscious, nameable feelings. And there's different levels of communication between these areas, different levels of function, different degrees of deficits in our interoception. So all of this it's not black and white, like I necessarily have this or I don't. It's a changing output that can be trainable with time. And it is something that can be patterned in from our past experience and then drives our behaviors. Make sure to subscribe to this episode on our audio platforms or hit the little bell on YouTube to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode, because we have lots of exciting conversations coming up, breaking down the science and the trauma of emotional health and nervous system resilience.